Hello, everybody, and welcome to Serial Content Bootcamp powered by Manuscripts. My name is Shanna Heath, and I'm going to be your guide on this journey. It's absolutely my pleasure to be here with all of you tonight and to share with you this really exciting opportunity to not only engage with the readers that you've already, with the audience that you've already collected in a brand new way, whether you've published traditional paperback books before, whether you have published primarily through Kindle Direct Publishing or on other different ebook sites, using a serialized content opportunity like Kindle Vella is a really interesting, exciting, and fun way to reach new audiences and engage the people who already love what you do. So come along with me on this journey today, and we'll talk about, let's see here. Let me get my slides popped up here. Now, you do have the opportunity to ask questions in the chat, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Let's see here. All right, everybody. There we go. All right, so this picture came up a little bit sideways, but you can probably still see that's me on the very first day of school. Can you see how my mom snuck her camera in the door? There's me. I obviously know that she's there because I'm looking straight at her. This is me on the first day of school when everything was new. When I was just beginning, I was a little tiny sponge ready to soak up everything that the educational system offered to me. You probably see my background here as well. This was chosen on purpose. Does it remind you of anything? Any kids in the 90s here today? I'm sure you've had a few very choice school photos taken with this backdrop. What I really want you to remember today is that as we talk about creating serial content, as we talk about reaching your audience in new ways and writing in a new way, stretching those writing and creativity muscles in a new way, you need to come to it like it's the first day of school. The age-old Zen Buddhism idea of coming to it with a beginner's mind. Don't have expectations that you already know where this story might go, or I already think I know what my audience might think. One of the beautiful things about serial fiction or nonfiction is that you have the opportunity to engage your audience in a brand new way. And throughout this 6-week program, I'm going to tell you how to do that and how to have a ton of fun with it. So here's our total course outline. Right now, as you can see, we are in week number 1, choosing the best content. Next, we'll move into developing a writing habit. Then in week 3, we'll talk about your first 3 installments, which are some of the most important installments for you to hook your reader. Then to outline or not to outline, are you a pantser or a plotter? Maybe you're in the middle. We'll talk about what are the best strategies to develop your serial fiction and write it on a deadline. Week 5, we're going to talk about the writing of installments and incorporating reader feedback. And then in week 6, we're going to talk about promotion. So make sure that you come back every Monday to join us and learn a little bit more. All right, so you probably recognize some very famous titles here. Now, all of these books started as serials in serialized magazines. Charles Dickens was one of the most famous people who really made serials possible. One of the wonderful things about serialized content is that it made it available to a larger audience. You know, I'm sure in your English classes, you may remember that books used to be really expensive, and sometimes they really still are. I try to support my independent bookseller, but books can be expensive. And if a new person, a new reader wants to approach your work, but they're not quite sure if they want to invest in an entire purchase, serial content is the way to go. They are able to look at your content, get to know you, your characters, your writing style, little by little in tiny installments that not only break up the reading experience for people who are very very busy and might feel overwhelmed with looking at one long book in their hands or on their e-reader. um and it's been something that writers have been doing very successfully for a long time. But what's really exciting about this opportunity is that we have the chance now to harness all the power of the Kindle community with Kindle Vella. Now, one of the most popular books that was serialized is The Hound of the Baskervilles, and this is a book that we're going to use for many different examples as we continue to move through the program. So, you know that it's free just to download on Project Gutenberg or to get in a number of different forms. So, especially if you're looking to do a creative fiction project, pick it up and have a read and see if you can tell where those incredible cliffhangers are, because that's what this particular series is known for. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what is Kindle Vella. Kindle Vella is a serial content opportunity for you to be able to harness the power of the Kindle and Amazon audience in a brand new way. Now, what you see here are the ways that Kindle Vella looks on a phone. A majority of people, especially your younger readers that you're going to encounter, are going to read your Vella serials on their phone. So the first one that you see right in the middle, that is like your title page. You'll see that there's a circular image. That's your cover image. Under that is going to be your title. Then there's your name. This is also the spot where you can put your real name or your pen name. Then there's a short little pitch about your book to get people interested. And then you've got your tags. During promotion and during a number of different of our different weeks, we're going to talk about what category do I use? What tags do I use? How do I harness the power of the Kindle tagging system in order to bring readers to me? Then, of course, you see at the middle, it says read episode 1. So you have the opportunity to have your readers read 3 installments or episodes for free. And that's why we're going to spend an entire session talking about those first 3 installments. But you can see on the far right, you've got an example of an episode that is behind a paywall. You'll see it's episode number 4. So you can see what the paywall looks like. It's unlocked with things called tokens. And we'll talk a little bit about the royalty structure and the way that readers access your work in another session. Over here to the left, the first one right here above my head, that's an example of what the story looks like at the end, where you get a chance to include an author's note. This is one of those really exciting interactive opportunities that you have, which is why I encourage you to come at this project with a beginner's mind. When we talk about incorporating reader feedback, this is where we are going to get into author's notes. So make sure you tune back in for that session as well. Okay, so I want to identify some terms here really quickly. A serial. Now, that is what we're talking about as far as how your content is being delivered. So, a serial is a story, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, any type of writing that you could imagine, anything that would go in a normal book form, but it is delivered to a reader in small segments. Now, on Amazon, there is your whole entire book, your whole entire concept is called your story. And then the smaller pieces of your serial that actually tell the stories, which you can think about as chapters, are called installments or episodes. So you'll hear me use both of those terms interchangeably, and they mean the small pieces that you'll use for storytelling. Okay, so there's only 2 major rules for posting your story on Kindle Vella. Number 1, when you're thinking about, man, what am I going to write about? You have to know that your content must be new and it should have never been published in a different format somewhere else. That means no, You can't take a novel or a novella that you've already published before, even on Kindle, and turn it into a serial version. It needs to be original content. Now, do you have a successful story that you've published on Kindle, that you've published in paperback somewhere, and you'd like to continue that story in a serial format? You can absolutely do that. You can absolutely continue stories or dive deeper into some different aspects of a world that you weren't able to in the first iteration of your book. You can absolutely do those things, but it still needs to be original content, even in that story world. And number two, you must be able to submit a minimum of 10 installments. All right. Now, as you start looking through Vella yourself, which you may have already done, you'll see that the number of installments really vary. Some people continue to publish a long, long line of installments in the hundreds, and some people complete a project with 20 installments. You're going to decide what's going to fit best for your schedule and for the story that you want to write. So I'll help you come to those conclusions as we continue on through the weeks. Okay, so next we're going to talk about, all right, how do you really pick what is the right idea? I will tell you that serial content is special. It's not the same as choosing an idea for a novel. It's not the same as choosing an idea for a blog. What I want you to think about is that it's actually closest to your favorite podcast. There is a long term overarching theme or plot, and yet it is divided into small episodes that are high interest and that usually end with a cliffhanger that make the reader or the listener want to continue more and more. So you have to think, okay, then what type of story do I have that will really work well with a serial? Okay, I've developed a shortcut and I call it the POM criteria. So as you are approaching this with your first day of school mindset, I want you to think about POM and what kind of ideas you may already have that fit into this criteria, or start to kind of stretch your creativity and your imagination to think, ooh, okay, where could I take this? All right, here's the POM criteria. Number one, P. I think to have really interesting, fun serial content that doesn't drive you wild trying to get the project done, you need to have passion. Number two, you need to have oddball characters. And this still applies to nonfiction. So, my nonfiction folks, don't think that you're looking away and not taking notes right now. And then number three, it needs to be multifarious. Multifarious is one of my current favorite words, and it means being composed of many different parts. So let's look into each one a little bit more. First, we have passion. Because, as we're going to discuss next week, you need to write on a schedule. You need to have passion for this project. I really want you to choose a topic that you love. You love talking about it. You could think about it, write about it all day. You're about to enter into a very long-term relationship with this project. So make it something that you're really passionate about. And also, if you're writing nonfiction, I suggest that you make it a topic that you're already an expert in. In my opinion, the idea of doing a tremendous amount of research plus trying to publish on a regular schedule, it doesn't necessarily fit. For at least your first try at serial content, I highly recommend that you choose something that you're already an expert in so that you have the comfort, you have the passion, you have the expertise, that you know what you want to say, and you don't have to input a tremendous amount of time into research. It's always going to take a little bit of research, but choose something that you already feel really confident in. And next, oddball characters. One of the things, especially for fiction, that keeps your reader hooked on your serial and coming back again and again is their main character. So think about the Hound of the Baskervilles. Who is the main character in that story that keeps people coming back for more? I mean, can we all just say it out loud together right now? Sherlock Holmes. I mean, one of the most amazing characters of all time. And actually, the success of Hound of the Baskervilles is what made Sir Arthur Conan Doyle continue to bring Sherlock back again and again as a recurring character because readers got attached to him. They loved it when he would pop in and pop out and give his really interesting observations on what was happening. He was odd, he was weird, he was different. So, for fiction, you want to make sure that you have a very strong, very weird, very odd, lovable character that people can cling on to, that they care about, that they want to follow. Now, if you're writing nonfiction, well, this oddball character might be you. It might be your expert opinion and authorial voice that comes through. It doesn't mean that, for example, you need to be funny or silly. I know I've got a silly face up here, but really what it means is you need to be talking about something that's different in a way that's unique, that your readers want to come back to hear what you have to say about this topic again and again and again. And finally, we've got multifarious. I know that you will use this word in a sentence this week because it's a lot of fun. So, multifarious, you really need to choose a topic or a plot that has enough complexity and depth to sustain a multi layered story because you need to have at least 10 installments. And what if you get to installment 5 and you've already solved your most complex problem? Like, well, I guess that was the climax. So what do I do now? I got to raise a character from the dead. I mean, somehow they're still doing episodes of Grey's Anatomy. So, like, we know that works somehow. But you want to have a bit more of a plan in place. For the Hound of the Baskervilles, there are many different plot threads that go through that entire book. There is not just Watson and Holmes solving the mystery of the Hound. There are so many different characters that come in and out, mysteries that get revealed. So you really want to choose something that you think can be multi-layered, that can go in many different directions. How many branches can you imagine going off of this tree? You want to pick something that has a lot of different paths that you could possibly take. You don't need to know what all those paths are right now, but you do need to see that it's a topic or plot that has a lot of possibility. Okay? All right. So, one of the questions that I get often is which should come first? Should I have my idea first and then try to fit it into the PALM criteria? Or should I look at the PALM criteria and then try to think what my idea is based on what I know will work for serials? My opinion is you should go with the PALM criteria first. I think it could be really difficult to force an idea. For example, if you are if you already have a very well developed idea that you wanted to write into a novel or novella or a nonfiction book in another format, give it a go, give it a pass, see what you think. Because here's the thing about the PALM criteria, I see it as a filter. So you've got your ideas here. You're going to let them filter down through the PALM criteria, and then you're going to have a very good basis for, yes, this should be my serial content. Again, you'll see that my opinion is start with that first day of school mind. Even if you have an idea already of what you want to write, still try and just start with a blank space as you consider this criteria. And then you can kind of let it trickle down and then decide, okay, yes, this is what I think is best for serial content. And again, bring that first day of school, bring that first day of school atmosphere with you. All right, so your next steps that I recommend are you're going to want to create your Kindle Direct publishing account if you haven't done that already. You're going to want to start a draft of your story. You can do that right through KDP. There's a special, you'll see right when you sign in to your book page that there is a special button that allows you to go in and manage your Kindle Vella stories. It's a really user-friendly interface. So get started, start poking around, just saves drafts of a story that you might be interested in and kind of see how it works. And then brainstorm some of your Palm story ideas, all right? Come at it from that first day of school idea, and maybe you'll come up with something that you think is really great, and we'll get started writing. So now I'm ready for questions. What do you guys have for me? What are you wondering out there in the YouTube verse? Is there a time limit for 10 installments? Really great question. No, there is not a time limit. What Vella does recommend, and what we know is most successful for serial content, is that you should publish on a regular basis. Now, the more often you publish, the better. It keeps your readers engaged. Just like a show you might watch on television, a show you might binge on Hulu or Netflix that comes out in small little increments, they always say new episode every Monday so that you know what to expect and when to come back. So next week, we're going to talk about how to set up your own schedule, and then you'll be able to, not sure why I lost my video here, but I think you guys can still hear me. You'll be able to decide what that schedule is going to be. How quickly do I need to release 10 installments? Excellent. So in order to, again, the faster that you release, the better. A recommendation is 1 to 2 times per week. You should put in a new installment. And again, we'll talk about that as we continue to talk next week. Are there live comments, and do we receive notifications? You know what, Terry? I'm not exactly sure about the notifications. I believe that you can adjust that in your settings. The live comments are live comments that can come after your author's note. So you'll have the opportunity to ask a question, and then you'll be able to get your readers' responses to that question right within that particular story. For serial content, do you think there's a preference between third person and first person voice? I don't think there's a preference. I think that, and I have seen, and you'll see this when you look through Kindle Vella yourself, that it's just, it's everything. There are so many ways that people have made it work in so many different atmospheres. And so I think you should go with what you think your strong suit is. We got about 5 more minutes. Again, sorry about my chat here. All right, everybody. If you have any final questions, go ahead and add them here into the chat. I'm going to double check this here. You can absolutely crowdsource content ideas from your audience. That's one of the things that I am most excited about, is to be able to interact with my audience. And this is also what we're really going to talk about when we move into how to incorporate audience feedback. And again, I'm going to ask you to come back to that first day of school mindset. I'm going to ask you to think about, all right, as your readers are giving you feedback, what are these different pathways that they're telling you to go down? Maybe you have a loose outline. Are you going to let your readers change where you wanted to go? I recommend, yes, you do. Let's make this a grand, incredible experiment. There is not a way to make more than 3 episodes for free. But if you log into Kindle Vella yourself, you'll see that in the upper right hand corner of the main page, you have the opportunity to get free tokens. At least they did offer that to me, and I believe it's an offer everywhere because they really want to get their Kindle readers excited about serial content. And so they still have the opportunity to start reading some of the paid content with some free tokens. And then after that, you know what, Jennifer? Your writing is worth it. Your writing is worth your readers investing in it. Tanya, during this particular course, we're going to help you to learn how to self edit your work, but you would be the one who would be editing all your work on your own. I mean, as you know, if you are, an author already, you can employ any of your, your own editing practices, copy editing practices that you wish to. But Vella does. Hey, there I am. It's magic. Vella does do a usually 24 to 48-hour check on your content. And so it will go through the Vella engine, the Amazon brain engine, but they won't be checking for proofreading or copy editing. So we'll be talking about how to do that before you publish an episode, because things like proofreading, misspellings, as long as you have a great story, your readers will overlook a few of them, but you want to try and make your writing as tight and clean as possible. All right, so we just have about 1 more minute. I'll take one more question here from Ty. Are we supposed to take reader feedback directly to influence future installments? Well, Ty, it's still a great question. It's something that we're all going to have to experiment ourselves. I've got a story that I'm going to be putting up right along with you. And I'll tell you what, I'm really looking forward to incorporating reader feedback. That's why I really want all of you to make sure that the topic or the idea that you have is multifarious. You want to make sure that there are many, many different branches and paths that you may be able to take with these characters, with this plot, with this topic. So that if one of your readers does have a really great idea, hey, you can jump on it. You can grab it and then imagine how engaged they're going to feel when they know that they are influencing your story, that they are part of the creation of this story. I don't know if any of you, speaking of the 90s again, choose your own adventure back in the day. Oh man, was that fabulous to get to turn to page 17 and decide what was going to happen to the hero at the end? Well, with serial content on Vella, as a writer, you have that opportunity. And I'm going to show you how to really take advantage of it. So, everybody, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And please join us again next Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Manuscripts YouTube channel, where we're going to talk about how to create a schedule that will get you putting content into your readers' hands at a regular time. For anyone who has signed up for the Serial Content Bootcamp, I will see you on Zoom for our special office hour session where you can talk to me directly, ask me additional questions, and we'll get even more into the nitty gritty. So thanks, everybody. It's been such a pleasure being here with you this evening, and I'll see you next week.